Hey Jennifer and everybody else tuning in to this radio station of weird things, you know. I am trying to have a look whether this is not too gross to look at. Never mind. It's my beef stew, which is by now happening by itself. So I should be able to extract my focus from there and from hoovering and painting and all the other things I've been doing today. And, get back to this business here and maybe potentially keep us on the road, keep us on track here, whatever that means, really, you know, because I suppose life changes all by itself. That's something I have really found out again and again recently, especially. And it's just, trying to keep up. And for me, it's trying to keep up and trying to maintain a semblance of order is good enough for me so far, But you cannot control it all. You cannot tell what things are about. I have a couple of questions for you, Jennifer. I also have registered 2 questions that came out of your latest VR, so I will get into those. My first question to you would be, would you be willing to share your date of birth? Preferably also your time of birth, if you're comfortable. If not, let me know. It doesn't make any difference. It's just fine. Only, I'm an astrologer, as you know, and example in point is how we interpret things, how also on these energy levels, how we work, what type of focus we have, what type of, how exactly we register, comprehend, etc., has to do with our Mercury position. Now, Mercury tends to be rather close to the Sun in every chart, of course. For example, with me, I'm a Leo. My Sun is in 13 degrees Leo. My Mercury is just in Leo, 0 degrees and a bit, just like that. If you're a Cancer, your Mercury can be either in Cancer also, in Gemini, or in Leo. And that has a lot to do with how we process things, I have had the most interesting past year, really, because of my natal Mercury position and what has been happening to that position and to the squares to it, the 90 degree and 180 degree angles to it. There's been a lot of stuff going on, and it has helped me enormously that I could track that. I could actually see. Also, most of the time it was tracking it after the fact. So, there was a full moon going on and it was all over the place or whatever. And I checked my charts or online what the positions were at the time. And I could see, And that happened like 10 or 15 times in the past. Less than a year, I think that it was. So just a tiny illustration with Mercury as a case in point, where Mercury especially has to do with how stuff comes to us, how we comprehend, how there's a lot in there that has to do with our priorities, basically. If you're a Mercury in Gemini, your priorities will be completely different than if you're a Mercury in Cancer or a Mercury in Leo. So there you go. Feel free, whichever way, it's fine. If you don't feel comfortable sharing this type of information with, the internet, I can understand that, and it doesn't make I'm just very curious, So I am going to move on now to the first of your 2 questions that I picked up in your last session. And it was really about the Shakti work itself, and it's how exactly I go about this. And I've been thinking about that myself, because it's not like completely self-evident, and I get that. Bear with a second, pour myself a cup of tea, because I need my sloop to go with these lengthy tails, don't we? So, there you go. And your question hinged more or less around these two sides of the approach. You said, do you need a lot of attention, concentration? Because I had said that it was a lot of work getting the Shakti energy to come into the cold areas. And was it because my attention would tend to slip away? Or was it a job because it would take a long time before it would yield? The last one. So, because I don't, the more difficult this type of thing will get, once I am convinced that it is a good idea, and I have found the right moment, the right time, the time, space, X, Y, Z, T, place in the universe where I am supposed to be doing this. This will be, typically this is in later in the evening when I am in bed. Okay, I'm going to go to sleep. I want to do a bit of meditating. Recently it hasn't been a problem because the thing has resolved itself. The cold areas have melted. They have incorporated the there's a cat, as you can tell, shouting at me. 3:30 in the afternoon. Silly cat. So I don't need to do this forever. I can tell that the whole of my spinal area, all those little bits and pieces that were there that were really sort of clenched in a state of cold, okay, they have melted. They have granted the access. They have transformed even. They're enjoying this new supply of energy. Consequence of this, by the way, is that I was at the end of December and early January, I was way into oil painting and I was having so much fun and I was doing 10 things at a time. Then I started with the Shakti work and there was no more oil painting for a bit because too much going on, you know, not bad, not painful at all, only pleasant, but you have never had these full batteries like this, and it takes some getting used to. So that's another part of my a lot of work phrase or description here. A part of that is that everything takes getting used to, and the more it takes getting used to, especially now that I'm slightly back into oil painting again since today, this morning, I can see that these 2 months have not been spent in idle, watching TV, binge, doing stupid things, It wasn't like that at all. It was necessary 2 whole months to integrate. Integrating takes time. And one of my favorite phrases in this world is, time is on your side. Even especially coming from somebody who is not fundamentally patient, because I am not. I am not a fundamentally patient person at all. So, long story, all sorts of parts to this. Getting back to the bit in the middle, okay? What do? I suppose that I have a couple of basic assumptions that are sort of holy ground for me. One is that we have the right to be healthy. We have the right to use whatever type of vitality that we can access. We need that vitality. Life is supposed to be alive. Okay, that's part one. And there's a bit of, there's a couple of bits and ifs to that thing right there, to that entitlement, if you like. Is that women, as women, we're quite often better at giving the strength or the force away to others, even when nobody asks for it. Because it's in our DNA. It's being a woman means being a sharer, being a giver, being... by definition, that's my definition of womanhood, is that you're multiple. I'm not the only one saying this. There's people out there who have described the female mode of being as such as well, where it's really all about the capacity for not only sheltering and nurturing other consciousnesses within our own, but even manifesting a new consciousness from our own. This is stuff that you don't get out there. Nobody says this. And the culture that you and I, Jennifer, were brought up in rests fundamentally, and I cannot say this strongly enough, upon the male perspective, which tends to be singular. Go out into the world with a piece of paper and a pencil and jot down every time, just put a little mark on your piece of paper every time that there is single-mindedness going on. And you'll be blown away, I think. Whereas, to us, all this is not only unnatural, but most of the times quite detrimental, or, it faults. It doesn't jive with how we are on the inside. We are not supposed to be singular. We're not supposed to be single-minded. We're not supposed to be singularities. We're not supposed to be what to all intents and purposes for us feels like narcissism or autism even. So all this, it'll be relevant at some point. I swear, I promise, okay? So, health and strength and the force is your birthright, okay? We need loads of that. We can access it if we travel this road, and often it is a very, very long road. And I have a couple of other thoughts concerning the things you told us about the... I'm going to take this off because, it's better. Concerning the hysterectomy, I'm wondering, often what I've seen is that people develop these physical what do you call that? Would you call that? It's like a manifestation, but it's not only about your life or your choices. You are almost carrying that burden on behalf of your ancestors. I believe in that. I do not have so much of a pretend proof or any type of real I don't really have anything to base this on, but I am kind of convinced that you didn't do anything wrong. There's no choices that you could have made differently that would have protected you, ever. It's not like if when you were 16, if you'd paid better attention to this, that, or the other. Ideally, perhaps, but it wasn't possible for you, okay? We work with what we get, And sometimes things, for me, things have worked out in that sense that physically I am very strong. I still have, headaches and stuff like that, but I can't complain. My grandmother died of breast cancer. It's an issue that I keep track of. I keep, make sure that the boobs are fine. I know they're fine. So I don't let anybody touch them other than the man who's, in a different relationship, who knows what I'm on about. We're supposed to be very sensitive. We're supposed to be, I'm sorry, but we are supposed to be sensitive because we are supposed to be this multi-layered, multi-leveled receptacle of, all of us. When you're a woman, it's just part of the program, I think. So, I think it happened to you because you are at this present time, you may be in 2019 and in the years to follow, you may be coming into a position, you may have worked a long time already to come into a position where you can figure out what it means to you, okay? That's more or less what I'm trying to get at here. And I know that a lot of it has to do with how we relate to our bodies, to all of our bodies. And I am not making a distinction between the body, the aura, and the spirit, and any of it. They're levels. They're just levels of consciousness. And because I have assumed 15 minutes ago that consciousness is not a singular thing, I can accept really easily that there are all these levels and all these, it's almost like a huge 3D map. Think of the map of Hogwarts, in the movies with all those little compartments, and it's 3D and there's all sorts of stuff going on and there's connections between here and over there. How can I point this out? So straight through, it's like multidimensional. And we are like that. And so I need to tell you all this because in the cold areas along my spine, I could still feel that they were part of me. Even though basically their cold nature meant only one single quality or aspect of those areas was that I hadn't been inside them. And they hadn't been, there was a almost like a time capsule type of thing going on in there, except not necessarily in that much detail. I didn't need to see any detail. I could see that my body had had a hard time working with what was thrown at me in my life. All along my spine were areas, and now that they feel much better, I suppose I can look at it again, like I said, in hindsight, and see that now they are getting the energy that they need. And I have experienced in those 2 months, in January and February, the sometimes a manifestation of anger, especially, and sometimes a bit of desperation at things that happened to me in the past and the way things were and all that. That I could feel was kind of being pushed out of my body towards the outside. So towards my aura. And I think that's quite fundamental because there's always, the more Shakti work we do, the more Kundalini work we do, the more we marry our own awareness to these forces that were part of you to begin with, okay? The more we generate all sorts of, fits and starts, that's exactly it, where all sorts of fields, vibrations, negative experiences, memories even, can just like a fever coming out. They move from the inside through the flesh, out through the skin, out into the wild wood, so to speak. And then you can start doing other types of energy work, chakra and white light work, probably. That's probably what I would say, really. Because I can do a manifestation of white light coming into my body nowadays much more easily than, say, 6 months ago. So I suppose the thing is that I'm still going to come back to this cold area business, because I still haven't said what I'm supposed to say, basically, which is the cold area is part of me. I can feel it, right? So I know I can only feel it because it is part of me. I can feel the Shakti energy. And I've always wondered whether it's because I have a Libra ascendant, which always tends to look for the balance, the middle point between any different vibrations, whether with people out there or in this type of situation. What I do is I just sit there, and I don't really have to do anything because the Shakti will do it. But the Shakti tends to go where I am. Maybe that's a good parallel. It is like a very friendly dog, or a very friendly little dragon, or something like that. It'll be wherever you are. So that's fundamental to the Shakti. If I sit here and if I communicate, I take care of the communication. And at some point, all I have to do is sit there and make sure that they're both listening, if that makes any sense. And so in the beginning, it takes a lot of focus and concentration, and sometimes my attention will slip away because I was hoovering and oil painting and cooking, and I'm just, it's not the top priority at the time, and then I will have to come back to it in the end, until I am satisfied, because it's really my own criterion what is it that I want? And of course, this nowadays is what I wanted. I wanted to let those areas have access to whatever life force there was for them. And so I hope this makes things any clearer. From the way you tell your stories, I think that we are quite suited to each other, Jennifer, you and I. In the way we talk, at least. Maybe there's other people out there who enjoy this type of thing. And in the years to come, we will keep getting comments to our videos on this little conversation back and forth. And people will go like, oh, yeah, I get this. And, oh, no, this is terrible. And so on. Wouldn't that be funny? The other question, I hope I did that. I didn't really make anything. The Shakti is very powerful. The coldness is right here. And I just focused the attention of the Shakti towards that cold area. And I just stuck really close to it. And at some point, there's a reaction. There's a response coming from here that goes like, oh my God, yes, this is nice. And that's what I was waiting for. So, and once you have done that 2 or 3 times, the 4th and the 5th and 6th time get easier. And I have described this in my first couple of Shakti series, Shakti Energy Work series, where you had to go, I went over the whole of my spine area in 3 sessions at first, the first time, so, and then I left it for a week, and then I came back to it and I did the whole thing again. And that was the hard work bit, really. So it was, all in all, it must have been, I don't know, 3 hours or so. Those 2 first really working sessions. And once the energy has come in there a first time, the second and the third time are going to be a lot easier, and it's going to be already completely different. So it is a matter of getting over that threshold. Okay. The other question that you posed to me, whether you could expand your aura to include your home. Not at this time. I have to be honest. Because your aura needs to be... It's not that you couldn't do it, but it would cost you. Yeah. So it depends on what level aura we're talking about. I think that you're quite capable of protecting your home on a vibrational level, that's not a good word, on an intentional level. Apparently, what with the tornadoes and all that, each time I hear about those, I see splinters, and apparently it just doesn't happen where you are, which is astounding to me. But then again, I tell myself again, Alabama is 3 times the Netherlands, and it's not like it's next door to you. So difficult for me because I have so many, 17 million people living in this little country. So we're all on top of each other. Irrelevant, I know. I think it would cost you too much to vitally, on the level of you need to, that's why you asked the question, I think. It's because you feel there's something missing in that vital area, and it is not your womb as a part of your anatomy, not anymore. But of course, this is a story. Many women have this story to tell, your story, where parts of their bodies have been removed and they need to heal themselves. And I believe that the strength and the focus is still there. It's all still there. That's what I think. I think it is quite possible for you to have your vibration and your field complete and perfect, and to manifest that type of vitality again. But that is your story, right? That's more or less what I'm trying to get at here. Is very convoluted, and I'm not making any sense, and maybe I'm not even going to post this, and I'm going to try again tomorrow. I don't know, we'll see. Because vitality, and that is why I think this whole Shakti business got you interested in the first place, because it appeals to you, because you can tell it's going to work and it'll make a big difference. So wouldn't that be cool? I believe in that completely, because I can tell from my own state of affairs that everything is just, this is the life. This is the way it's supposed to go. And it doesn't mean that I don't have any more headaches, or that I don't hate having my period and having PMS and all that stuff, because it's a mess. Hormones are incredibly hard to deal with. And partly because I think of the, male-female perspective problem story. Okay? So, I think that you have already expanded your aura to the extent that you can, and or that it is necessary, and that it wouldn't really be all that particularly useful to focus on that at the moment, because it would cost you. I think so. I'm going to show you the cards that I pulled. I pulled cards, okay? And then I'm going to put a buckle on this one, and maybe I will do another little one where I can go into a couple more details that have to do with preparing for the Shakti work, okay? So we'll see what happens then. I had 2 times 4 cards. 4 cards that are on your side and that are, to me, that they're all my interpretations, of course, and that they are what I think are your strengths, okay? The Knight of Cups, it's the Mary L. Tarot. The King of Cups, yes, good luck with that one. The Knight of Wands, my personal favorite, and another favorite, the Queen of Wands. Very strong, powerful cards, all 4 of them, quite different. Twice Wands, twice Cups, mixture of water and fire. You make a lot of sense to me. So there you go. The cards that do not work for you, or that describe to me parts of your potential problem or your story, rather than think of it as a problem, I'd rather think of it as a story that is yours to write. Okay. Hermit. I kind of think you're not surprised at that one. The Star. It reinforces my, intention. It reinforced my intention to ask for your date of birth, because there may be things there that, you require from your horoscope, that needs that are not being met. And it would be possible to gain some insight into those. The 5 of Wands. This is one of my favorite cards. Also, they're all my favorite cards. Maybe this one would represent a tendency in you to just, plunge into whatever it is that's drawn your interest, and forge ahead regardless. That type of thing. And 4th card is the King of Swords. He's a bit of a challenging character right there. And you know best. You know what he stands for. I wouldn't know. He's got a bow and what looks like a dragon tattoo, and you're seeing him from the back. Yeah. So, that's the end of that for now. I'm going to listen to this and see whether I make any sense. And I will get back to you very shortly with a part that I haven't spoken about at all yet. And maybe it is time to do so now. That has to do with the Shakti, with getting the Shakti energy, coming into contact and owning, if that's possible, your Shakti energy. Thank you for watching. See you soon.